The sound of the iconic Huey helicopter is unmistakable to a Vietnam veteran. The rhythmic thumping of the rotors is hypnotic and often takes vets back in time to when they served during the Vietnam War. Vietnam veteran and pilot Jim Haga believes reuniting his fellow vets with the Huey could be cathartic. Getting back into a helicopter helped Haga, who struggled with late onset PTSD. That's why he founded Liberty Warbirds.
In Vietnam, almost every veteran has a story to tell about a Huey, whether good or bad or just indifferent. And I realized there was an opportunity there to help other vets reconnect with the aircraft. It might be healing for some of them, but it's always a choice. And I just wanted to give them the opportunity. And that's what Liberty Warbirds is all about, trying to get this aircraft in front of veterans, in a sense to give them the opportunity to reconnect and to just honor them.
Honoring a generation of veterans who were told to fight for their country and mistreated when they came home. So every weekend, these Vietnam veterans are hard at work in this hangar at the Lancaster Airport, rebuilding this 1966 Huey.
It's like a kid with a big train set. So when you can get to work on one of these things, it's neat. It's just fun.
But they're not just fixing up Huey A23's paint.
Well, right now what we're doing is restoring it to flight status. It's not going to be a static display. We're going to get it flying again.
The Bikini Blue served in Vietnam from 1968 through 1970. She accumulated over 1,300 combat hours and has the bullet hole patches to prove it. PTSD therapist Alexis Lake is on staff with Liberty Warbirds. The Vietnam vet volunteers her time and has seen the healing effects firsthand. She says when veterans just touch or sit in the 823, the emotions and that connection are powerful.
Remember that when Vietnam vets came home, we were told, don't tell your stories. Everybody was said, get out of your uniform, get into civilians, or because the population, America at the time, took out their angst about the Vietnam War on the troops. This particular helicopter, the Huey helicopter, is so iconic for Vietnam vets that it brings back memories and thoughts and stories that have been long forgotten. The stories may be buried, but the emotions are always filtering up.
Feelings that are as real today as they were 50 years ago. Joe Start fought in Cu Chi, Vietnam with the 25th Infantry Division for 9 months and 27 days.
All of a sudden I heard this bloop. Well, I knew what that was. It was M79 going off.
Start was hit by friendly fire, although he didn't know it at the time.
The shrapnel caught me in my neck, collapsed my lung, broke 2 ribs, blew my thumb off. I was breathing and I was thinking to myself, I said, you know, if they're going to get me, they're going to have to come in here and get me because I'm not giving up.
After the gunfire stopped, Start's good friend from North Carolina got him on the chopper.
But I think being on the chopper, the air blowing through the doors, and me being cold saved my life.
Do you remember hearing, the rotors coming in?
Oh my God, yeah. That was just like, the angels dropping down out of the sky. It just, when you hear that, it's just a wonderful feeling. Especially being on the ground, wounded, and knowing help's coming. And these guys don't care if you're taking fire on or whatever they're doing, they're coming in. They give their life for us.
All these years later, Start still gets a lump in his throat talking about it.
If it hadn't been for that chopper, I wouldn't be here. And if it hadn't been for the pilot and co-pilot and the medic, I wouldn't have them.
Start says he would love to fly in a Huey again, reunite with an old friend, this time sitting up. Vietnam was where Army aviation took off, revolutionizing Army combat operations. But the Huey has since been replaced with the Blackhawk because the military wanted something bigger, faster, more powerful. Active duty and National Guard units started transitioning to the Blackhawk in the 80s.
The Huey, it was a great aircraft, but when we got into the Cold War era, they realized that they needed an aircraft that could do more. Like they needed to carry more troops, be able to move more equipment, so they wanted a bigger aircraft. The Huey was single engine, the Blackhawk is dual engines. That was the main reason right there, just capability.
Lieutenant Colonel Darren Schuster says the Delaware Army National Guard was one of the last 3 medevac units to still operate Hueys through 2009. Towards the end, Schuster says the Guard had 6 Hueys left, one of which saw combat action in Vietnam. The 1969 Huey, with serial number 6915171, was revered in the unit and Schuster's favorite.
Was built new, sent over to Vietnam, wasn't even there for a year, was shot down, received battle damage, was recovered, sent back to Texas, rebuilt, and then stayed stateside for the rest of its life. But it was just the fact that you knew that that aircraft flew in Vietnam with pilots that, you know, were pioneers of Army aviation, and just that history and that connection. I think that just meant a lot to a lot of people.
Schuster flew 171 from Newcastle to Fort Polk in Louisiana, where he'd turn her in for good. Schuster recorded the trip in a personal flight log.
And then on the 28th, we delivered the aircraft from Hattiesburg to Fort Polk. So that was the last flight, and said goodbye to 171.
At 45 years old, Schuster was just a baby as U.S. troops withdrew from Vietnam, but he still managed to forge this unspoken friendship with 171, like many who came before him with other Hueys.
You don't really ever think about the day that you're going to have to walk away from that aircraft. And when that day kind of finally came, it's like, it's a bittersweet moment. I mean, it was like you try to make the most of it. I remember when I shut it down for the last time, it was like, you're probably not going to do that again, you know, and it was a sad day. We have the one that sits outside our gate here that we were able to keep as a display aircraft, but I think there was a lot of people here that would have liked to have left one in the corner of the hangar and kept flying it.
The folks with Liberty Warbirds are hoping to start 823's engine this year. Best case scenario, vets could go up next spring. Huey pilot Don Beatty is nervous about flying again because of all of the good and bad memories tied to the bird.
Just to feel her come back to life and being able to do things with her that I haven't done in a while and that aircraft hasn't done in a while. So it's kind of almost a bittersweet thing. I'm looking forward to flying her, but realizing that it could be a very emotional moment for me and a lot of the other people that are involved with her.
The Huey may be a machine, but for so many veterans, it's a friend, a lifesaver, a brother in arms.